Hello, everyone, and welcome to Social Justice Week 2023. SSU student Shelby Wade created Sonoma State's Social Justice Week, and it launched in 2015. The goal is to provide a space for not only the Sonoma State student body, but the community as well, to contribute ideas, gain perspective, and get an understanding of current social issues. Its mission is to first, connect students with advocates who help students develop a theoretical understanding of whose land SSU sits upon and the power of grassroots activism for human betterment and social change, while raising student and community awareness of engagement with issues embedded in societal social structures of inequality, colonialism, imperialism, classism, ableism, sexism, patriarchy, heterosexism, queerphobia, transphobia, xenophobia, and religious and other discrimination. Our second mission is to involve students in social justice issues in organizations, which produces socially responsible students who are educated to be effective, personal, and social change agents in the pursuit of justice. Our third mission is to engage the community in collaborative partnerships that strengthen communities, provide services, and prepare students. And our fourth mission is that we contribute to equitable distribution of economic, political, civil, cultural, social, and other resources and opportunities in society in order to promote personal, campus, and community development. I would also like to take a moment for us all to honor the land Sonoma State University and the Sonoma County lie on. Long before California, Sonoma County, and Sonoma State University, the land around us was inhabited by indigenous peoples collectively known as the Coast Miwok and Southern Pomo. Now they are formally recognized as the Federated Indians of Grayton Rancheria and chaired by Greg Saris, who also holds the Grayton Rancheria Endowed Chair at SSU. Sonoma State acknowledges in gratitude the Rancheria's ancestors for their stewardship of the land and all of its resources, and thank the current membership for their partnership in a number of educational initiatives, including the Federated Indians of Grayton Rancheria Learning Center at the Fairfield Osborne Preserve, located on Sonoma Mountain. My name is Abigail Haar, and I'll be your host this evening. I am a graduating senior in the Criminology and Criminal Justice Studies Department here at Sonoma State. I am also the president of the Pre-Law Society and a student assistant at the library here at Sonoma State University. I will now introduce our speaker tonight, Henry Frank. Our speaker's background is quite extraordinary. Henry is a descendant of the great nations of Yurok and Pomo tribes. He is a returning resident, former Arts and Corrections participant and clerk, and is currently working for the William James Association as the communications administrator and teaching artist at the California Medical Facility, the High Desert State Prison as well, and the California Correctional Center. As an artist, Henry uses his art to amplify the voices of people of color, specifically Native Americans, as well as people who are currently experiencing incarceration and returning residents, AKA the formerly incarcerated. He does this in order to expose the mistreatment, dehumanization, and desolation. Henry's contribution is to make sure that the people's voices are heard beyond the reservations and prison walls. His connection and coexistence with the natural world, his heritage, culture, and incarceration experience inspire and shape his artistic expression. Henry draws from his childhood, spiritual practice, memories, and treatment from his time incarcerated, as well as living as a Native American in a colonialized-based society. This evening, Henry will be talking about his experience on how the arts helped him cope with his incarceration and how it improved the quality of life, as well as the colonization of tribal governments and the NAGPRA. Before I direct your attention to Henry, I will now read our ground rules. The first part of the session will be a presentation, and you will have a chance to interact during the second part. The first part, as a part of our continuing commitment to social justice work, when we experience examples of oppression, we will speak up. This means we can interrupt the meeting and draw the issue to one another's attention. We will do this kindly, with care, and in good faith. This statement is a reminder that we commit to do this in the service of ending oppression. Also, remember to step up and step back. If you speak often, then don't speak as much. And if you don't speak as much, speak more. Be courteous to others and avoid inflammatory language. Speak from your own perspective. Criticize ideas, not individuals. We will not tolerate any derogatory or hateful language or actions. Avoid speaking over each other and respect each other's contributions. There will be consequences of violating the ground rules. The first will be warnings, but if they persist, you may be asked to leave. Hecklers will not be tolerated and will result in the instant removal from the session. Also, please make sure to take a look at the surveys that have been placed in your chair. We will be collecting them later. I will now turn my your attention to Henry, and he will be speaking for the next 40 to 45 minutes.
Or 50 or 90, whatever. Thank you, Abigail, and thank you, Caitlin and Sonoma State University for inviting me here and letting me to share my story. Really appreciate that. Before I begin, I'm gonna get a drink longer. All right. I'm about to sing us in. Gonna do a prayer calling song because I'm about to take you on a journey. And this journey, opens up me and the pain that I experienced, through my incarceration and all this stuff, through the healing to the point where I'm able to stand in front of you today and share this with you. So none of this is yours. So I want to make sure that you don't leave with any of this energy that, I'm going to put out there. And, the negative part, you can take the good part with you. I offer that up to open up our hearts, to open up our minds, and let me share. And may I speak the words that needs to be spoken, and when nothing needs to be said, may I not say anything. And may you hear me not only with your ears, but may you hear me with your heart. I'm going to start off with this poem, and it was part of a writing retreat. And I don't have the picture, but it's like a guy like on a low rider bike, but it's a skeleton, wearing his rag in front of his barrio. And that was the picture that they showed me, like, what comes from this, write something about it. So what came to me was dead man. Just a dead man walking, thinking of ways to earn my bones, to be front page news, to go out in glory. Just a dead man thinking there is no other way. This is the only way. Fuck it. If I die today or tomorrow, who give a shit? I don't. Just a dead man wondering, does that bullet have my name on it? Is that the man who's going to take my breath? Is that blade sharp enough? Is today the day? Just a dead man numbing, burning nose, watering eyes, and mind racing. A burning throat, shake it off, mind slowing. Sweet smelling, sweet tasting, mind smiling. What'd you say, you stupid fuck? Just a dead man dying. Self-prophesized, front page, street cred earned. You don't fuck with me. Life sentence. I'm a man. Just a dead man lying. I did what I had to do. Time does not do me. I do time. I run this yard. I own this yard. The guards and every motherfucker on this yard. I am living a good life. Just a dead man surviving, ordering hits, always looking over my shoulders, ordering more hits. Shit, fucking rat. Cell extraction, put 2 guards in the hospital. Just a dead man reaping what he sowed. Guards looking up my ass, daily beating, sleep deprived. Just a dead man praying, kill me today. Please be the day. And that's how I went into incarceration. Lying to myself. I was scared as hell. I didn't know what to expect. Looking at a life sentence, which I ended up with, 29 years to life. Ended up doing 20 years of that sentence. Chasing, other people's standards of what a man is, of, what a warrior is. And from that, it took me about 13 years before I was not okay with dying in prison. There was a point where I was walking out of North Block and I was with one of my elders, Arliss Peters, may he rest in peace. And when you walk outside, before you go down the yard, you can see 101, you can see Larkspur, and off to the side, you can see where all the COs and the lieutenants and, the wardens live and all that stuff. And people riding horses, and in the nooks and crannies, you can see deers, you can see hawks where they live and all that stuff. But I never really saw it until after this day. And Arliss knows I did all these programs and started teaching programs, but I would never see myself outside of those walls. And he's like, hey, see those deer? And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Was it a PBS special last night or something? And he's like, no, look right out there. Why can't you look out there? There are 4 deer right there looking at us right now. And I was like, why do I care about what's outside of these walls? Arliss, we're gonna die in here. And he's like, you're one dumb motherfucker. You do all these classes, you do all this education. And if you cannot see yourself outside there, Henry, you'll never be outside of these walls. And, I dismissed them. Like, yeah, whatever, dude. And then after probably about a couple sweat lodges, and I was laying there afterwards, recuperating, I was like, wow, he's right. If I can't picture myself out there, I won't ever be out there. And from that day forward, I started watching the Boston Legal and all that stuff and thinking about what would I be doing out there? What can I be doing different? Would I be the same person that I am right now? Or would I be doing something positive? And so I started going to my classes even, with more intent. And at one point it's like, I'm not doing it for the board, although they like these chronos, and the chronos are like the yellow paper on the back here on the first panel there to say, hey, you did this in this class, and this is what you learned in this class and all this stuff. And I did. I did learn that stuff, but it wasn't for them. It was for me. Because if I went in front of that board and I did all the stuff and they denied me, I'd have some resentment, and then I'd probably resist any more chrono chasing. I wanted to know what, drove me to be okay with being, part of the criminal activity. What was it okay where I was okay with hurting somebody else? And, I didn't care about their life. How did I get to that point? Well, I didn't care about my life. And once I started caring about my life, it was easier to start caring about other people's lives. And did I open myself up for vulnerability of friendships? I never really had a friend until I got to San Quentin and I met Arliss. And he was truly a friend to me. I'm not going to get into that story of how, I know for sure, but he was like my first friend, because before that, I didn't trust anybody except for myself, because that's just how I survived. You don't want nobody ratting on you. You don't tell your business. You just keep it to yourself. So through all of this, though, my art's been with me, and my art gave me solitude. And even if I didn't talk to anybody, I had that pen. That pen was my friend. And Ramiko was asking me, like, when did you think you were an artist? And I'll tell you the story. I was 5 years old. And my dad was at school. He was going to Humboldt State University at that time. And me and my brother were at the house, and his girlfriend was there. And I just went and took a dump. And for some reason, I reached in there, grabbed it, and started painting on the wall with it. And, just left it there and came out and just went back doing what I'm doing. And then Clara came in and said, "Oh, what the hell is this? Get in here." It's like, "Come in there. Wait until your father gets here, and this and that. That is disgusting," and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, "Oh, damn, we're going to tell my dad?" I'm like, "Oh, it's all bad now." So I'm sitting there, I can't do it. I can't concentrate on anything because I'm waiting for Pop to get home. Then he comes home, and it's before he even set his books down. "Rick, you need to get here and see what your son did." And like marches down there, Pop saw. I'm like, "Oh, I'm about to get my ass whooped," as in spanking, because spanking was still cool then. And all I heard was, "Oh my God, my son's an artist." And I think to this day, what happens if my dad didn't say that? What happened if my dad said, "You know what, you don't do that shit, you stupid do," and all this stuff? But he didn't. He said, "Oh my God, my son's an artist." He came out and he said, "Son, you didn't do anything wrong. You just got to use a different medium for this outlet." And he went out, bought me some pencils, crayons, paper, coloring books, and stuff like that. And that was the beginning of, just enjoying art and being an artist at that time. So, he helped me along that ways. And then just growing up, drawing my Transformers, my G.I. Joes, stuff like that. Got into gang, did the graffiti stuff, got into Humboldt County Jail. And when I got into Humboldt County Jail, it wasn't my homeboys writing me. It wasn't my dope connections writing me and all that stuff. It was the people I cut out of my life because I thought I was protecting them. Really, I was just pushing them away so they couldn't tell me I was messing up. They are the ones that came and visit me. They are the ones that came and wrote me. And that's what that panel, the second panel with all the stamps are, that commemorates the love from my family. And that one there is particularly is from my father. Those are stamps of over 20 years of writing letters to each other while I was incarcerated. And on this side of it, from the panels, you're going to see some black and white ones, and it has a sink, and there's a TV, and there's a locker, and there's bars, and that was from Max A Cell 5 when I was in there, because they had me in isolation when I first came in. And so, being an artist, I bought a tablet, bought a pencil, and just drew everything I saw in front of me, and that's what I saw. And just recently, my father asked my wife and I to come up and help him go through his storage unit. And my goodness, it was like a time capsule. There was 4 giant boxes of all my letters, art, everything, chronos. And he said that, "You can have that, son, if you want it. You get first pick." I said, "Yeah, I'll take it all." And from that is where this came from. And I mean, it's just, been a blessing. So since then, went through the levels, level 4, level 3, and, just did my art, connected with people on that level of different races, which is rare. And I'm Native American, as showed up there. And so I had a little bit more leeway of interacting with different cultures and ethnicities. And so I was able to make that connection. And it saved me when I got to San Quentin, because San Quentin was a little bit different from the other yards. San Quentin, you were able to get up and walk and get a second cup of coffee, or get up, get a second cup of juice, get up, go say hi to your friend over here. In other yards, you couldn't do that. If somebody got up, somebody's going to get hurt. And so that's why I was like on guard. And I was just like, I don't belong here. I need to go back to a real prison. And I was getting antsy. And my friend Roy, who I knew on the level 3 yard, we connected doing watercoloring. He helped me, learn how to do watercoloring and stuff. And just before count time, when we were locking up, he comes up, Henry, I know you're tripping out right now. Just give it a chance. I've been here 3 months and it's good. So just come to art class tonight. And I'm like, all right, I'll come to art class tonight. And that was in the Arts and Corrections by the William James Association, who I work for now. And I went to class that night, met Patrick Maloney, may he rest in peace. And we just did art. I mean, everybody was in there. Everybody was talking to everybody, all different races, all different religions, all this stuff, and just talking to each other, just like normal people, because we were all artists in there. And he's like, you just got to calm down. It takes a minute to get used to. And it probably took me like a month. And once I really embraced what I had, I mean, it was like I paroled. Like I said, I didn't think I'd ever get out. So this is paroling for me to be in this place where I can take all these classes. I can, do all these activities. I can, hang out with, pretty much whoever I wanted and do art. And my dad, only lived like 3 hours from there instead of 12, where I originally was, and getting visits every weekend. I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is where I'm going to live for the rest of my life until that day with Arliss. And so I go in there. I think I got my little clicker here. So that first picture, I think I was 5 years old. And then the second one, that's Arts and Corrections. And I made that drum and the rattle. And the drum I actually gave to Reggie Asbill. We were at the Sweat Lodge one day and he said, I want that drum hand. And I'm like, when you get your GED, I'll give it to you. Out of nowhere. I was like, oh, I just committed myself. And then he went and got his GED. And when he showed me that GED, I gave it to him on the spot. And I missed that drum, but it went to where it was supposed to go. And then that third picture is me and my wife down in LA at this pop-up like exhibit, like was in some dude's garage. I was like, oh, I made it now. Literally, it was just in some dude's backyard in an alley. And then there I was at Shingle Springs and I was dancing with my family for the first time. And then there I am just chilling at the house with my hat. Love that hat because I look pretty, sophisticated. So I feel pretty smart in that hat. All right. And so here we go in 1994. Most of my drawings came out of the Sunday newspaper, and I love Garfield and Calvin and Hobbes. And I never did anything, kind of drawing like this where it had multiple faces and hands and stuff. And like I really captured the spinning, so I was pretty proud. Then just off the top of the head, I'm a hawk. I'm Palin's Bagat. And so, I just started drawing them and playing with it. And so this is one of them on the back wall there, Untitled Max A Cell 5. And that's the TV set that used to be in the corner of the cell, and like box of dominoes and stuff like that. And you don't see that anymore in like the new jails. Not I've been in there, but I've seen like openings on the news and stuff. I didn't see no TVs in there like that. I mean, it was like a Gold Star, the one that you used to buy at Payless and stuff that lasts for like forever. Now you get a flat screen that lasts like a year and you gotta go buy another one. It's crazy. Okay, staying on topic. All right. And then Corcoran got into like these giant notepads they were selling. And then I got the gel pens and packages and just started playing with that and the color pencils, Stairway to the Spirits, and really thinking about my heritage, thinking about my culture, and just started really connecting back to that. And this is Basket Designs with Spears, and this is ink. And again, I was looking, I think, at Southwest Art, and they had like all these cool shields, and like my tribe don't have, those cool shields like that. I was like, well, I'll make one out, a basket design. And, throw some spears on there because we're badasses. And this is some of the envelope art. And so the earlier ones had Looney Tunes on it and Garfield and stuff like that. And this one at San Quentin, when I got to the block printing program, they really didn't trip there. And so I just block printed on envelopes and then sent them out to people just to say thank you. Oh, this is really cool. This is a book tower project. So the ones that's facing you, the prints, I did those. And then the one book, it opens up and it tells a story of a visiting room visit that I had with my dad. And then other ones were from other people. There was 4 of us. And then this one was also part of the CCW. So the ladies cut all the panels for it. It's out of cardboard and stuff, and then brought it to us. And then we put it together and we did the prints and stuff like that because we had the workshop. And so it was a collaborative kind of thing. And this one actually is in the Library of Congress now. Yeah, under Beth Feeling, and then it has all of our names under it. And so it's under the Prints and Photographs division. And then I sent the lady, the curator of the Library of Congress, named Catherine Blood at the time, did a visit to the San Quentin Arts program, right into the classroom. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And I just finished this one, Hibernation. And I said, I want to just gift you this. I want to give it to you just to say thank you, for taking in the other ones. And she took it. She didn't keep it. She put it in the collection too. I was like, wow, this is so cool. So what's important about this one, this was about the time when Arliss was talking to me, and I just wanted to, be different at this time. Up to this point, I thought I was rotting in prison. My life is wasted. And then I just realized, you know what? It's not wasted. I'm not rotting. I'm just in hibernation since I'm a bear, which will come up later. And so that's where this came from. And this is a relief print where you just do several inkings at different times and lay them on top of each other, where the only thing that was left on this block was just my hair and the glasses, and everything else was already gone. And then I got kicked out of San Quentin because I would not tell on the local drug dealers there. And so they couldn't do nothing to me because they knew it wasn't me. But since I did not cooperate, they threw me on a bus and sent me down to SADF. Yeah, that was the most horrible prison I've been to, the most horrible time I had to do. And it was a level 2. It was insane. So I ended up in the hole there because of a hunger strike / work strike, because they just kept locking us down just for arbitrary reasons. And I got into the hole, and you're pretty much just in your boxers there. They give you this bag. And this bag had like a roll of toilet paper with no cardboard in it, a pen filler about this big, and you get 2 indigent envelopes, and you get some tooth powder, and I can't remember what else, not too much else. And I was laying on my bunk, and I'm not gonna lie, like tears were rolling down my face. I'm like, what am I gonna do? What would I do from here? Do I resort back to my level 4 mentality and just go that route of being, macho, being a man and all this stuff? Or do I uphold my new embraced characteristics of the self-help groups? Why am I scared? Why am I afraid? What am I fearing? What can this happen? And, what if I do this? And what if I do that? All this stuff. And I didn't know what I was going to do at that moment. But all I remember was thinking, God, I wish I was back in that studio doing some art right now. I wish I just had a canvas. Just give me a canvas. And I rolled my head over and I saw the bag and I said, oh, there's a canvas right there. So I got up, tore it apart, took everything out of it, tore it apart, and just flattened it out as much as I could. And then I started from the upper left-hand corner, went across the lower right-hand corner, and this is what came out. At the time, there was no title to it. And at the time, I sent it to my friend Beth, the one who got the book tower into the Library of Congress. And I said, hey, I just did this, and just want to give it to you for everything that you taught me and all that stuff. And then she took it, not knowing yet, but she took it. She had a show up in New York, and she framed it, and she put it in her show. And I believe a Cree woman out of Canada was visiting New York, came into her exhibit, was drawing to this piece and bought it on the spot. I get out a year and a half later, and she asked me, "Hey, what's your address?" So I figure, a welcome home card. So I gave her my address, and I get this check for $1,000. And she tells me the story about this woman coming down, and she said, "That's your art. I couldn't keep that money. And I figured one day you would get out and you would need some cash. So here it is. This is not a loan. This is not a gift. This is your artwork that earned this money." I'm like, whoa, that is so cool. So, oops, sorry. And so this also ended up in a book by Peter Mertz and Larry Brewster. And that's where I was able to get a picture of it. And then this piece here is finally home. This is the first block print that I did when I was released. And I held it from 2011. And it was actually a green background, and I actually used a big pen to do it, but I saved the transfer. And I was like, one day I'm going to block print this. But in my mind, I thought I'd just get back to San Quentin eventually, and then I would go and print it. But I paroled with it. And a friend of mine said, "Hey, my studio is your studio." And within a month, this was printed and out in the public. My friend Carol, may she rest in peace, taught me how to get a business license and a seller's permit and all that stuff, and started hitting the local art booths. And I started selling this print. And I remember the first time I was at the trade feast in Novato, and I had all these prints up, and just like this, but I had like prison prices on them. I had like $65 and $70. I was like, people aren't making like $35 a month in there and stuff. Yeah, serious. And one of my elders came out who used to be a curator, and she said, "I need to talk to you, Henry." I'm like, "All right." And she pulled me to the side. She said, what's wrong with your art? What's wrong with them?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Well, I've been in this business, and these are museum quality prints, and you're selling them for $70. So that just doesn't make right. I mean, the frame cost about that much. So what's going on?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I just figure that's a good price." "Oh, no, jump it all up." So I went back, put 270 and all this stuff on it. And I'm just like, okay. The same people that came through earlier that morning came back and bought it at the 270 price because they knew what art was and they knew the quality. I was like, this is never even questioned it. I figured somebody would say, "Hey, wasn't this like 70? No one said nothing. They just bought it, thanked me, put it in a bag, and they went home. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So that really helped me, kind of learn the business. And so I've been lucky to have, guides in my life. And so I got into, I didn't really do prison art. I didn't really do, carceral art. And, because I was like, I'm in it. I don't need to paint it. I don't need to, immortalize it. And then I saw Despicable Me 3, and the minions went to prison. I was like, "Oh, cool. I like that. I've been in prison. I can relate to them now." And one day, Honey and I were in Target. I don't know what for. And I saw this little kit, and it had like a little minion, and it had a cell with a toilet and like this wall that breaks down because they escape. I said, "That's cool." It took me like 5 minutes to make. And then I put it up on my shelf, and I was looking, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's a sorry ass cell." And so I started building a real cell for him. I mean, if he's a real criminal, he needs a real cell. And then I'm like, well, that's just a holding cell. So I built another one, and then another one, and then another one, and then a yard, and then a gun tower, and then walls. And then I put it in the county fair here, the Marin County Fair. Yeah, I was like, well, I'll just throw it in there. Why not? And they gave me honorable mentions. I was like, oh, I feel validated. Like, this is cool. And now I'm like, what do I do with it now? I liked it too much to take it apart, but I didn't like it enough to store it in the storage unit for 50 years. And I was like, what am I gonna do with it? So it just sat in the hallway for probably about a year. And then it just hit me one day. I think I can, put tiers on this, and I could do a R&R, and then a transport bus, and then a visiting room. And so that's what I did. And then, like, when am I just going to throw people in there? How am I going to do this? Well, each piece over there, each cell is a memory that I have that I experienced, or someone firsthand shared with me their experience, all the people, all the yards or somebody, the guards remind me of a certain, time when I was there. And then the transport bus, because that was like my least favorite part out of all of it. And then the visiting room, because my dad visited me all the time. And this is all out of the head, no pictures or anything like that. I just started making them. And then I ended up in Cincinnati at the Marking Time exhibit. And I met Nicole Fleetwood. And I got on one of her panels and she invited me and paid for everything, which was very gracious. And I'm like, just to share my story about being in prison. And so I show up, do my thing. And next day, sitting with her having lunch. And we're chopping it up. Like we've been friends forever. And I'm just like, this is my shot, and I don't want to ruin it either. And I said, hey, Nicole, can I just, sell myself real quick, super quick, and then we can get back to it. She's, go ahead, Henry. I said, remember yesterday when I did my thing and I had the PowerPoint and I had those Lego pieces, the prisons and stuff. She said, oh, yeah, that's wonderful. Everybody's been talking about it. I said, yeah, they need a home. And so she's like, all right, I'll send you an email. I'll send you an email, like by the end of the week. Well, it took a couple of weeks. I was like, okay, it's all good. But then I got a email from her saying, hey, I want all the measurements for your pieces. So I sent her all the measurements. She said, well, I can't go in this one, but it'll go in the next one. And I actually got the transport bus there, which is called the Gray Goose. So that ended up in the Marking. It is in the Marking Time exhibit about to open up in New York at the public library. And it was just at Rhode Island at the Bell Gallery at the Brown University. And then this is the prison that you'll see back there. Feel free to take photos. And then here's the visiting room. And so this was the other piece that was accepted by the Marking Time exhibit. And from that, I was nominated for a Art for Justice Fund grant, and I was awarded it to make more. And so a second series will be coming out that will be bigger and more detailed because expensive or Legos are expensive. And I'll share this with you. I was in Target like 2 months ago, looking at the Legos, seeing if anything was on sale. And there was like a teenager in there and she was like holding the box. And then her friends came around the corner and I heard one go, oh, damn, we didn't know you had Lego money. I was like, oh my God, that's real talk. That almost killed me. So during the pandemic, I got gifted this bear. Her name's Smiley, a grizzly from Alaska. My friend Raymond is the one that shot her when he was a lieutenant colonel. Had her since 1964, I believe. And I showed up in their life, but 50 something years later. And, I'm pretty rooted into my spirituality, my ceremonies and stuff, and my connection with the bear. And I tell them about it. And one day I came back, I was going to SFSU at the time, came home, and the bear was on my bed. I thought, oh my God, came down. And then Raymond's like, I've had this bear for so long and she was a rug. Well, he didn't say she, it was a rug and it was a wall hanging. It was this and that, but I know you'll take care of it. And I said, oh, I will. And from that day forward, we did sleeping ceremonies for her, awakening the bears and the march ceremonies for her. And then my spiritual leader came by because he was dropping off some red-tailed hawk feathers. And he's like, oh my God, Hank, you got a bear hide? I said, yeah, oh, I knew you were a Bear Clan guy, all this stuff. And he's like really on Indian time. So it could happen next week or it can happen 10 years from now, but it will happen eventually. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And then about a year passes, don't hear nothing. And I get a phone call saying, hey, Hank, I just talked to the bear chief and he wants to meet you, bring your bear. I'm like, okay, I'll think about it. The imposter syndrome kicked in. Am I Indian enough? Am I strong enough? Am I the person that's supposed to be there? All this stuff. And I didn't call him back because, I was scared. I was just like, I can't do this. And so my wife and I went up to Yosemite. And we were in Yosemite and we've been going there for about 4 years now, something like that. And we're always looking for bears. I want pictures of bears. I want to take, pictures like they do in National Geographic. Never came across them. This trip came across 4 bears, a mother bear, a baby bear up in Tuolumne Meadows or up at the top. came down to the meadows down at the bottom. There was another bear. And then we got busted because I jumped out of the car, ran down the hill, Hun stops, and then the ranger showed up. So I'm running back up the hill, jump in the car, we take off. And just before we leave, there was another bear right in front of the exit. That's 4 bears. That means, that's a sacred number for natives. And I was like, honey, it's a sign. And I'm weeping. I am weeping. I'm like, oh my God, this is a sign. So immediately when we get down, I think the Merced or whatever town that is down there, got reception. I called Hector. I said, hey, that offer's still good. I'm ready to go. We're ready to go. My bear's ready to go. And I get a call like probably the night before he's supposed to pick me up. And he's like, all right, Hank, I got your message. I'll be there in the morning. And so jumped in there, took my bear, introduced him to the bear chief, and I've been dancing ever since. And so and this is the lodge that's in Big Lagoon there. And so recently, well, 2021, the Opera House contacted Carol Newborg, part of William James Association as well, and said, hey, I want to work with you guys because we're doing a production of Fidelio. And Fidelio is about a guy in prison, and then like his wife like dresses up like a guard to get in there and sees him and stuff like that. And so they're like, oh, this is a great collaboration. Okay. All right. I got 45 minutes off. And 15, my bad. No. And so they're like, hey, can we do a collaboration? And then she calls me up, say, hey, Henry, you got anything to put in the show? I like to include you since you're alumni. And I'm like, yeah. And I was going to throw in some woodpeckers, one I already had done. But then I was driving around and this hit me like right in the face, like bam. And I was like, oh, I need to paint this. So I call up Carol, like, how much time do I got? She said, oh, about a couple of weeks. I said, that's all I need. I'm going to make an original piece for it. I'm talking really fast. I get excited. Sorry. And so I do this and it goes and, it's a hit. I mean, it's just really good. And it helped me again, kind of express my institution life, my carceral life. And through the Legos and this piece, going into other ones really helped me therapeutically. It's giving me some healing from it and letting me really embrace it and let me feel the fear that I had in there, constantly always on guard, constantly watching everything. And so it's been really letting that stuff go, and again, here's Paul Mark the Spot, just something, from my bear stuff. And then this one is Get Down. And my wife and I were flying to New York like 3 o'clock this morning because the Ford Foundation, is doing this tomorrow morning, this exhibit, and they're like, hey, we'd like you to come to it. So we're flying out there, going to that, and they accepted this piece. So I was really honored about that. I mean, it's just really humbling about where my art is taking me. And here's no warning shots, and that's in the bag. And I'll try to sum it up on this one. So this is a story where I was in San Quentin and I was cool with this officer because I painted his Max Shack like with Raider stuff and all that. And one day we were like kicking back. He's like, Henry, because I said, yeah, you can call me Henry if you want. And then he's like, you can call me Lance. I said, no, I'm good. I said, I'll keep it, Officer Kastner. And he laughed. He said, I get it. And he's like, I just want to share something with you. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. He said, if you got to do something on the yard, if you got to do your business, just make sure I'm not in the tower. He said, because I practice all the time on the gun range and I always go for the head and I haven't missed yet. So if you need to do something, make sure I'm not in there. That was his olive branch to me for being a friend. And I was like, wow, thank you. Really appreciate it. And I did, but it was just so distorted, just morbid. But that was his way of showing that he doesn't want to shoot me in the head. And that is where this piece came from. And that isn't the first thing that came to me. I did the background. And if you see the orange in the background, it was right after I saw, was it Method to or the Madness? Somehow I just made this orange creature and I was like, I don't like that. And so I just started cleaning my palette and using my tape, making all these shattered glasses kind of pieces. And then when it got to the last orange, that image popped in my head and that story popped in my head. And again, therapeutic. Okay, I tried to end on that one. And this one here is Desperation meets hopelessness. Okay, I'll end it on this one for real though. So I had these fake heart attacks. I don't know for how long, just these chest pains where it would hurt me. Went to, these heart places, cardiac wards and all this stuff. And one day I was and they found out nothing's wrong with my heart, nothing wrong with my lung, nothing wrong with my brain. And so I was hurting so bad. And I just grabbed some paint and I said, Creator, I just want to put all this pain into this canvas. And I did. And this is what came out. And to me, it looks like a demon that got trapped in that canvas. Okay, I will stop there. I thank you. Thank you very much for listening to me. I really do appreciate it. And here's Abigail.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming out tonight. We are now going to begin our Q&A portion of the evening. So if anyone has any questions for our speaker, please raise your hand and I will bring the microphone to you guys.
Anything? Nothing?
All right, awesome. I'm going to.
Whew, time flies.
You and I connected recently on Facebook because I sat behind you at a museum showing that other Indigenous artists were present at. And I found out that you have also participated in the Alternatives to Violence program. And I wondered, since you didn't mention that in the talk, would you say a little bit about that and what that experience was like for you, and maybe explain to the audience what that program is?
So AVP, I didn't mention it, but I do have the certificate on the rehabilitation, is a choice, is a program that lets you build better strategies to deal with conflict and challenges in your life. Instead of reacting to something, you respond to it. Because we're all built with these instincts and just kind of react to protect yourself because you're in danger, you think you're in danger. And it's really to stop, take a breath, look at the situation, and then like, why am I afraid? And then go from there. It could be internal, it could have nothing to do with the external, except for something that triggered it. And so that's what we learned in there about your triggers, and learned about, my own stereotypes, my own prejudices that also are triggers, and to stop that, because that's what keeps playing in my head, and to stop that loop. And so it was a really great program. I mean, the intimacy of that group, of breaking it up and really, letting people be vulnerable in those circles is, a tremendous help. And it shouldn't just be, inside the walls. It should be in schools, really, in juvenile halls, and it should be in the junior highs and stuff like that before they get there, where you don't have to go and see them. You can just have them out there, and that goes for all the programs. Let's do preemptive strikes instead of, post-release.
Thank you so much for speaking on that, Henry. And I think we had another question over here.
Yeah, you had that acronym. What prison was that? SA?
Oh, that was the Substance Abuse Treatment Facility. That was at Corcoran 2. Robert Downey Jr. was there. He made it famous.
So you went there after you went to Solano, or?
No, that Solano where we met was after SADF.
Hey, you busted me out. Man.
I did.
Yes.
Yeah. Another returning resident doing great. And they came out to support me, and I really appreciate you guys, and thank you. But the thing was, what was ironic was when it was built, I was in Old Corcoran and we watched it get built like Legos. I mean, it was real quick how they put that prison up.
Well, do we have any other questions in the audience tonight for Henry?
Or comments,
Or comments?
or compliments.
Where is your life leading you now? What's your next adventure with William James or other organizations?
Well, making new collaborative partners, like Caitlin. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. Hopefully at the CMF with Sam Tubio. He'll be my site coordinator. We're trying to work with the hopefully the Hospitality House, the Richmond Art Center, with returning residents that were participants in our programs inside of the Arts and Corrections, and trying to get them some skills to market their art and get them careers in some kind of art field for them to, thrive in it, like I'm doing, because not everybody had the opportunities I have. So we're trying to recreate that so other people can have those opportunities as well.
I'm going to put you on the spot. A question I always ask you and you always avoid.
That's my wife.
Oh, you ratted me out.
Yes, I did.
Legos, oh my God. If there's one thing, I mean, you've got a wonderful life now and you've had great experiences in different areas, but where would you go? What is one thing that you would change in your past life?
I mean, honestly, my past decisions, all of them, and I regret the pain that I caused in the communities and the families that were involved, which includes my own as well. But they all led me to be in this spot right now. If I was not arrested, I probably would have been killed or might have OD'd or, I don't know. But all I know is, I do my best to appreciate what I have right now. I do my best, not to dwell on the things I had or the things that I miss. I enjoyed them and they stayed with me for as long as they were supposed to. And I look forward to what Creator has in my path. And I pray that, I'm going to be the best person that I can be at any given moment. And I want to be able to just appreciate what He puts there, the best that I can. And you're there to let me know when I'm not appreciating them and slap me upside the head and go, hey, you're living this and you're really enjoying that. So I really appreciate you. Yes. And my friends and people that care about me. Even if we only, hung out for 3 days and, had those circles for a couple hours, it meant something. It added to who I am. And it adds to all of those people that you sat in with, and when you guys leave here, and hopefully when somebody's talking madness about a person experiencing incarceration or a person that have experienced incarceration, say, hey, take a person by who they are, not what the news tell you, not what your family told you, with your personal experience. And I hope that I put, all of us in a good light, because change is possible. Rehabilitation is possible. And all we have to do is give them that chance to show the value that they can add to the society. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Henry. That is, you touched on something that's really important, something that we talk about quite a bit in the criminology and criminal justice studies program here at Sonoma State. So appreciate you mentioning that. Do we have any other questions from the audience before we wrap up tonight? All right, so if there's no other comments or questions, thank you all for coming this evening. We do have surveys that we've left on your chairs. If you guys could fill those out and leave them with us when you leave tonight. Thank you so much and have a great evening.
And before you leave, if you're willing to take a group photo with me, all of us, maybe in front of the booth. If you guys are willing, I would really love that. Thank you. Oh, and thank you, tech people. Awesome job.